Ride along with me today while we make something special. Taking a little road trip to a meat block and gonna make some sauce piquante, which is really popular in my family on my dad's side. And we're gonna go to a very, very now famous place to get all of the ingredients. So, all right, we're here. Let's go get all of the ingredients that we need for our sauce piquante. I'd like 1 link of andouille, 1 tasso steak, and 2 links of already steamed boudin, please. All right, we got all of our meat. Let's cook. Hey y'all, so today we're gonna make sauce piquante, and the ingredients that you're gonna need are bell pepper, onion, salt, pepper, cayenne, garlic, seasoning, some rotel, celery for the completion of the trinity. We have smoked tasso, andouille sausage, pork cut up into chunks, mushrooms, tomato sauce, flour, and beer. All right, here we go. So the first thing we're going to start off with is explaining what sauce piquante is. So sauce piquante is translated into like spicy sauce, and I grew up eating it. It's a tomato-based sauce, kind of like a stew, using the Holy Trinity and garlic, and then a lot of smoked meat. And of course, we're just gonna make it with all pork today, but I've eaten it made with squirrel, I've eaten it made with rabbit. It can be made with seafood, alligator, turtle. It can pretty much be made with anything. So we're gonna start off with cutting up our smoked andouille sausage from Benoit's, and it's beautiful as usual. And it is different than regular smoked sausage, and the difference is that andouille sausage is coarsely ground, which means when I open it up, you can see visible pieces of pork chunks, fat chunks, which is different than a finerly ground regular smoked sausage. So we're going to start off with this because it has probably the most amount of fat out of all 3 of our meats. We're going to start with it first so we can render some fat into our pot. Now, growing up, sausage, andouille, used to be made with pig intestines or pig stomach. And I can remember as a kid, we would buy a pig, we would feed it out, we called it go and slop the pig. And if you've ever owned a pig that you had to go put slop for, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And they would take my swings off of the swing set, and they would string the dead pig up by its hooves or tendons on my swing set. And that's where they would boil, scrape all the hair off, remove all the skin to make cracklings, and then they would, you know, complete processing the pig. And I can remember them having a boudin or a sausage making machine in our house, and all the family would be there, like their spouses and their sisters and brothers and spouses, and the kids would be running around, and they would stand in the kitchen and they would make probably 100 feet of sausage with, you know, with the machine or with the little crank tool. All right, I'm going to start by throwing all of this in a cast iron skillet. Turn on the heat, and that way we can start rendering some of the fat out of this andouille, because the whole point in the end of browning all of our meat is to get a tiny bit of roux with some of the grease, and that's our goal. So I'm just going to put that in there, make it 1 layer on the bottom of the skillet, and then we'll start working on the tasso. All right, so it's a wonder I'm not traumatized because they used my swing set for butchering pigs, but yeah, I grew up in an area, I grew up with you know, lots of animals around us, and people raised them for food. So I would name them, I would cry when they would butcher them, and then I would eat them and say, man, Jim Bob is good. All right, so again, it's a wonder I'm not a traumatized person by all of that, but I sure did like to eat it. All right, so tasso. This is what tasso looks like when you buy it at a meat block. And tasso is pork. It's spiced, smoked, and it's used to flavor Cajun and Creole food. And it did originate here in Louisiana. It's made from pork shoulder or a pork butt, whereas some people might call it a tasso ham, but it doesn't come from the same part of the pig that ham comes from. Just to give you an idea of what it tastes like, if you could eat it right now, I mean, it's smoked, it's completely cooked. It's a little bit salty, it's a little bit spicy, and of course it tastes smoky. And they cure it first, and then they smoke it. So that's where the saltiness comes in. And we're just going to dice it up into little bite-sized pieces. Tasso is probably one of my favorite things to dig out whenever I'm eating sauce piquante, because when it cooks, it's going to get shreddy, and it's just going to kind of fall apart. It's very, very tender, although right now it looks like it's tough because it's, you know, smoked. I am removing all of the meat from the bone, but I am going to throw the bone into the pot while we're cooking it, and that'll be good seasoning or a good flavor. So I'm just going to take my knife and remove it from the bone the best I can, because when it starts to cook, it's going to all fall off of whatever meat is left on this little bone. It's all going to fall off in your gravy anyway. But I am going to remove as much as I can so that I don't have to scrape it off or anything like that. Now, tasso is good in lots of different things. It can be used in jambalaya. It can be used in, you know, any kind of Creole cooking. It's very, very popular in our family. I have been exposed to tasso my whole life. And when we go towards the family, when we leave our house and we go visit families, sometimes we'll stop off and get some at the local little meat block over there. But Benoit's is delicious, and ever since I was a kid, it's been one of my favorite meats. All right, I'm going to set this aside, and we're going to prep our onions and bell pepper while our meat renders. Okay, this is what you want your onions to look like when they're ready. So they got this little brown fringe edge. And at this point, we're going to add in about a tablespoon of flour. Just give it a sprinkle. And give it a little stir. And what we're doing right now is we're going to let the oil be absorbed by the flour. Let it brown just a little bit. We don't need it. We just want to cook the flavor out of the flour. And then we're going to deglaze the pot by adding our liquid, which today is beer. And if I were doing this at school, I would obviously be using broth or water. So you have that option. You could do wine, like a white wine. But I'm pretty sure that my daddy and all of his brothers used to make this with beer. I mean, I have no doubt about it. And just gonna let that get a little bit colored. And then we're gonna deglaze with our beer. You can use any flavor you want. We have Bud Light in the refrigerator. And I'm just gonna put enough, probably like a quarter of a cup to a half of a cup. And after we make our sauce, we'll add more depending on the consistency that we want. Alright, so now I'm going to use that to deglaze. Deglaze just simply means you're picking up all the little stuff that's stuck on the bottom of your pot. That's all flavoring. Alright, and now we want to start adding everything liquid in. So I'm going to put in my about 10 ounces of tomato sauce. because remember, sauce piquante is a tomato-based stew or gravy. And put in our rotel, a whole can. I'm using the original, but you can definitely use the hot. Alright, I am going to now add in a little bit of black pepper, a little bit of cayenne. Ooh, that's too much. A few little red pepper flakes. See, like that much. A little bit of seasoning from Benoit's. I'm going to put in our mushrooms. And these came out the freezer, but I would definitely use fresh. And then now we're going to put in all of our meat with their juices, if they had any juices left in the bowl. All this goodness. This is going to be so good tonight. Whew. All right, then give it a toss. All right, now I'm going to add in more beer, just until we get the amount of sauce coating our meat so that it has something to simmer in. And beer is just going to add flavor. Not a beer flavor, but it's just going to be an extra layer to all of these different flavors that you have in here. All right, now I'm going to add some more. I want to drink some of it. I hope I don't need all of it. We just want to, when we press everything down, we want the gravy to be at least to the top of the meat. That's what you're looking for. And I did go get some onions out of my yard. Look at these suckers, how long. I'm not going to use all of them. I'm just going to trim some into it. And of course, this is a very, very, very common ingredient when people are cooking Cajun or Creole food. I mean, even though all of this meat has some amounts of fat in them, I mean, they're full of different vegetables. So they can't be that bad for us, right? And if you didn't know, you eat this on top of rice. All right, so I'm going all in with the onions. And then I'm going to put a tiny bit more beer, and I'm going to finish it off. I wouldn't want any of that to go to waste. And then I'm going to give it a little stir. And I'll push everything back down under the sauce, because as it cooks, even though you would think some of the liquid's going to cook out, some of the liquid is going to be presented to this. The mushrooms are going to provide a little moisture. The fat's going to come out of the meat a little bit more as it cooks. And I'm going to turn this on a very low simmer. As soon as it comes to a little bubble, I'm going to keep it at a steady low simmer and probably let it cook for an hour or more until we're ready to eat. It's like, you can probably do it and be ready to eat in 45 minutes. You could probably be ready in an hour and a half, but just know that the longer you let it cook, the more tender the meat's going to be and the more flavorful your sauce will be. So that's how you make sauce piquante, and I'll come and show you what it looks like when we're ready to plate it. It looks so good. This is when it's been cooking after about an hour and 10 minutes. It's nice and thick, and the meat is all tender and falling apart. Let's give it a taste. So here we go. Let's give it a taste. It's so good. It's tomatoey, it's thick. That was tasso, and it was so tender. I'm gonna let it go for another 30 minutes or whatever and put the lid on it and just leave it sitting on the stove. And it's just gonna really even get more flavorful, but it's perfect after an hour. So I hope you enjoy sauce piquante.